National call for moral revival, Moral Monday. Poor and low wealth women on the front line on this International Women's Day. And my comments today is short. I want our media who's on to quickly hear the workers, poor and low wealth workers who are around this country, who are women who have decided, like Sojourner Truth, to say, ain't I a woman, who decided, like our dear sister Fannie Lou Hamer, who used to sing, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. We're not going to be quiet. I want to say to the members of the media, rather, that you ought to be listening to the 74 million poor and low wealth women in this country. You ought to be listening to the women who make up large numbers of the 49 million who could be raised up out of poverty and low wages if we raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour as a part of COVID relief, as a part of a relief package. And if that raised to 15 moves some people to 17, it could impact 62 million poor and low wealth women. We are poor and low wealth people. We are not going to believe the lies. These are the voices you need to listen to. These are the voices that have saved this country. These are the voices that have been on the front line. We are so tired of people trying to make poor and low wealth people accept little pieces and compromises here and there and never deal with the issue. So don't ask us to overly celebrate a piece of victory when what we want is everybody in and nobody out. So I'm going to stop right there because we want to get right to the voices. Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris has an opening welcome, and then to members of the media, we're going straight to the voices of poor and low wealth people. This is who they should be putting on, listen to, not Manchin and others, but here are the people, not millionaires, but here are the people in the trenches. So let me stop right there. Reverend Dr. Liz.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. We thank everybody for joining this Poor People's Campaign, a Moral Monday, on this International Women's Day. And indeed, as Reverend Barbara said, the only way we can honor women in this country and across this world is by raising wages, it's by guaranteeing incomes. It's about raising from the bottom so that everybody can rise. And so that's what we're here to do. To keep on putting pressure that we got to end all poverty. We got to raise all wages for all workers. Everybody has to be in. Nobody can be out. And what we know is that who has led great transformational moments and movements in history is indeed the kind of women and the women that are leading us today. And so we want folks to take action with us together. Make sure that you're calling representatives and pushing. We still need to raise wages. That's the way to honor women. We still need to have anti-poverty programs from the bottom up. That's the way to honor women. And we're going to keep on fighting and organizing until we win it all for everybody. So Reverend Barbara, I think you're introducing our first speaker.
Yeah, so we've got Chris who's coming from APF, and then Julia Kennedy who's coming and she's coming as an ASL speaker because we recognize everybody in this movement and we believe in giving voice to everyone. And then to the members of the media, we're going to have attorney economist Charlotte Gupta Barnes to unpack some of the stuff you're hearing that's not quite true, like this bill will lift 50% of children out of poverty. That people really don't need 15, they need 11. We got to question this stuff. It doesn't matter Democrat or Republican, because what we're interested in is a just society, the establishment of justice. Doesn't mean we don't celebrate some movement, but we never can celebrate some movement without pushing for all of the movement that's needed to be done. We treat corporations like people and people like things. That day has to change. And we are the movement that's going to make sure that happens. So Chris, you're home now. And Julia will be coming up, Julia Kennedy, and then Charlotte Gupta Barnes.
Hey everybody, Chris Kincaid here, and I've talked before, I'm a low-wage worker here in West Virginia, and at the beginning of the pandemic, I was a restaurant worker. That's what I've done for pretty much the last decade, is I've worked in restaurants. And then, of course, the restaurant that I worked at closed at the beginning of the pandemic, and I went to work as a janitor. I clean banks. We clean, besides banks, we clean doctor's office, dentist office, things like that. And I don't our senator here says that West Virginians would be just fine with $11 an hour. But let me make it very clear that we're not okay with 11. 11 doesn't even begin to touch the need that we have here. And, because today's International Women's Day, my group, Appalachian People's Front, what we're getting ready for right now is a Taco Tuesday. We're doing tacos for International Women's Day to raise funds for menstrual supplies for women, because low wage women can't even afford to buy their own menstrual products. They have to sometimes miss work because they can't afford it on minimum wage. And today, with it being International Women's Day, you see I'm standing here. I'm not doing a whole lot of work. My husband, he's putting in the work today. But, just the need. And it's not just me. I want to make that clear. Our group, we serve food 3 times a week here in Beckley, West Virginia. And we serve about 200 people a week, between 200 and 300 people a week. It's not homeless or anything like that. These are low wage workers that come to us. These are, workers who make just barely enough to survive. And I think that really speaks to the situation throughout Appalachia, and really not even Appalachia, but the U.S. Just low wage workers. We can't make ends meet. If we can pay rent, then we can't afford groceries. And that's across the board with people who work service jobs. And, I mentioned it before, we are the foundation of what keeps the country running. We make sure your businesses are clean so they can stay open during a pandemic, Not only that, but, we cook and serve your food. And then in our off time, we serve our communities because there's such a need, especially here in Appalachia. People are hungry. Kids are hungry. People are working 2 and 3 jobs and they can't afford to buy groceries. So, if we can help in some way by, even supplying them a dinner for the night, that's great. But, it really speaks to something, because here I am, I just spent all morning cooking, tacos, and here my husband is getting everything ready so we can go serve them. And then after I'm done with this event tonight, I get to go and clean banks this evening, so they can open tomorrow. And I think it just speaks to the overall need throughout our area, and the amount of people that come to us for help is, I never thought it would be as much as it is. We started out serving maybe 25 people, and now it's 200 and 300 a week. So,
Chris, can I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely.
2 quick questions, because I know I would love to hear you talk a whole hour, because but has Mansion ever even just come and talk to you all and tried to run that farce about $11 in your face, talk to you all, and allowed you all to push back against him?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean,
he said the other day, and I'm gonna do this real quick, I know we got to move, Rob, but he said last night when he was challenged by AOC up in New York, he said, well, I come from a different culture and you got to respect the people from my state. And he was implying that everybody in your state is just fine with this. It's just cool with, and I guess I want to, as a caveat, and then you can close it out. How did you feel when you saw him and 7 other senators? Interestingly, they're all white, 1 white woman who did a little dance when she did her thumb down. But how does it make you feel that the headline across the world is that Manchin is the one that led the way to get 15 pulled out of this relief bill?
Well, I'll just say this, Reverend. None of those people represent anybody in their states. None of them know what the people need. I mean, it's pretty blatant, and it's because they're all millionaires. They are all millionaires. And you know what? here is my reply to that. I want to show him my neighborhood that I live in. And it's your typical neighborhood. Our houses are about 10 foot apart. And let me just say, each and every single person in this neighborhood would benefit from a pay raise.
That's right.
Without a doubt.
That's right.
And that's not unique to my neighborhood. That's all the neighborhoods. So I don't think Manchin sitting in his mansion knows what people need.
Oh, let's stay right there. Sitting in his mansion. And let me ask one question. Do you think the Poor People's Campaign should just be giddy and happy and say, well, the bill does all these things. We're not going to complain anymore. You know, everything is fine. That's the best we can do. We should just be happy. You know, because if you say that, we'll just stop. But I need to know what West Virginians want.
I'll tell you this much, Pastor. I'm thankful for the stimulus. I was thankful for the last one that we just got. But I'll show you my stimulus behind me. This is a food truck that I'm serving free food out of to the community because there's such a need. I spent my money that I got to pour it back into the community because I not only want to eat, but I want to feed the people in my neighborhood that need to eat too. Kids that, kids in our neighborhood that my kids go to school with that might not have a meal tonight. So, and this new stimulus, guess what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to pay a month's worth of rent. I'm going to pay up some bills that I ain't going to lie are a little bit behind because all my time and money goes into back into the community. And then I'm going to put the rest towards this because there are people that aren't going to get it. Right. And it isn't because they make too much money. It's because they don't have an address to send the money to. Because they don't have nowhere to live. They're couch hopping because they done lost their house. They lost their house at the, 6 months back, 8 months back, 9 months back because they couldn't pay their rent. When we were waiting for last year.
Yeah, when they were giving $6 trillion to the businesses and forgetting the people. But look, we thank you. And you're right. My grandmama taught me if somebody gives you a fish, say thank you. But you'd rather have a fishing pole so you can catch your own. And that's what we're saying. We're not going to quit until people got the pole. You're not going to just give us a little taste and then think we're going to say thank you and go away. Chris, you stay on the front line. Appalachian people.
Thank you, sir.
We're with you all the way. We're not going anywhere. Forward together, not one step back. Now we want Julia to lift her voice through sign. We want all of the media to hear her through sign. She has an interpreter because it's important to understand that when we talk about poor and low wealth workers, we also have to disaggregate to talk about those who are disabled. And I even struggle with the word disabled because I think people have abilities that we need to honor. But in this moment, we need to hear. So Julia, in your way, in your uniqueness, in your power, speak your truth. And then Shali Gupta Bond is going to come and put some for the media is going to really kind of help you understand why we cannot accept the narrative that's going out right now. And then Reverend Liz will come back with our other speakers.
Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here for International Women's Day. My name is Julia Kennedy, and I am a third-year graduate student at Hampton University in Virginia. Hampton University is a historically Black college and university. I am actually a student visiting Gallaudet University, majoring in television and minoring in film studies. So I'm currently living in Virginia, and I'm proud to be an intern with the Poor People's Campaign. I am also a proud Black woman and a deaf woman with cerebral palsy. As a Black deaf woman, and as a woman of color, and as a woman with disabilities, I'm very honored to be a part of this event. I am a strong advocate for increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour for everyone. As a woman, I've noticed that women tend to receive pay that is less than that of men. We face additional obstacles such as sexism and discrimination. We also face stereotypes and biases more often than men in workplaces in America. Studies show that women of color tend to earn less than white men. For example, according to the Center of American Progress, white women earn about 79%, Black women earn about 62%, and Latina women earn about 54% of the wages that white men earn. Also, according to the Americas Institute of Research, people with disabilities earn about 37% of the wages that non-disabled people earn. CNBC.com stated that if we supported the Raise the Wage Act that's currently being presented in Congress, 59% of those who would benefit would be women. Also, the Economic Policy Institute states that 1/4 of the women benefiting from raising the minimum wage would be Black and Latina women. Also, it's important to know that employers are legally allowed to pay people with disabilities less than the current minimum wage. The Raise the Wage Act would eliminate this injustice and raise the pay for poor people with disabilities. For me, raising the minimum wage to $15 per hour would help me to afford basic necessities, medical bills, and therapy. I would also be able to afford accessible housing for me to live independently with my family or trusted friends. In the future, my career goal is to become a disability advocate and lawyer. I also want to use film and social media to spread the word about human rights. I am advocating for the minimum wage increase now, and I encourage all of you to get involved. I want people to be able to contribute to society and earn enough to support their families. In that way, we can truly move forward as the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, for your powerful and penetrating voice and commitment. Now, Shelley, let's put some facts on this. I mean, we're not putting more facts. Let's add to the facts what people in the academy and others are saying. Because we always, if we allow, we're gonna be right. We're gonna have a footnote because we gotta correct some of the narrative that's going on in this moment. So, would you all listen up now for Attorney Shelley Gupta Barnes, who's an attorney economist.
Yeah, thank you, Reverend Barber, and the powerful women and leaders on this call. I wanted to talk about this narrative that we're hearing, in particular around the child tax credit and how it would cut child poverty in half. Now, first, we have to celebrate the expansion of this tax credit. The way that it's currently administered, it leaves out millions of children whose families are basically too poor to receive any part of the benefit or all of the benefit. And so that's changed in this bill, and that is important. The base amount of the credit is increased. It reaches all these children who've been left out totally, which are about 6.7 million children. It reaches 17 million children who are only getting part of that benefit. And it has the potential to reach all of the 39 million children who we talk about in this campaign as poor or low income. It's the work of tireless advocates over many years. All of this we celebrate. But the narrative that it will cut child poverty in half, we have to look at more carefully. What that means is that 45%, the number is 45%, that the expansion would cut child poverty by 45%. What that actually means is that 45% of the children who are currently below the poverty line, that extra $3,000, $3,600 would move them above that line. They're close enough to the top end of that line that they would be pushed above it. Okay, well, that line is, first of all, too low. It doesn't get to half of what we need. It doesn't even get to half of what we need to meet the average cost of living in the country. And when we look at the impact of the child tax credit in relationship to the 140 million, to the 39 million children who are poor, low income, using the same work of the center, the Columbia Center on Poverty and Social Policy, that provided the other numbers, we see a much smaller impact. While the tax credit would reach all of these 39 million children, it's only going to move 5% of those children out of that population. So basically 5% of those 39 million kids are close enough to the upper bound of being poor, low income, that extra $3,000, $3,600 would move them above it temporarily, right? Anything else would move them below. But for the rest of those 39 million kids, that extra $3,000 is not enough to fundamentally change their condition. So what does this mean for us? I mean, we do celebrate, like I said, the expansion of the credit, the child tax credit. This is long overdue. It'll bring more income into poor households, and we need to make sure it's accessible to everyone who qualifies for it. It's not enough just to make it possible. It has to be accessible, right? It has to be easy for these families to sign up and receive this benefit. But it is not on its own enough to address child poverty, let alone cut it in half. Poor and low income families need more than this to make sure that on a monthly, on a weekly, on a daily basis, we can meet all of our needs without worrying about being hungry, without worrying about losing your home, without, worrying about the extra bills we have to pay or having your utilities shut off. We need the expansion to be made permanent. We need the expansion of all COVID relief to be made permanent. And we need to raise the floor. This is why we need 15 to permanently. This is why we need guaranteed incomes and guaranteed healthcare and guaranteed housing. So yes, we celebrate this expansion. We are thankful for Speaker Pelosi and her fight to keep 15 alive for all workers. And we encourage her and others in Congress to not just move some children to the other side of this line, but to end child poverty, to end all poverty. That's what we need, and that's what we're going to push for.
Shelley, as we go to the other speakers, I think what we have to keep saying, the Poor People's Campaign, this is not hard. It could be done. We've done more than this for the corporations. That's the problem. They keep acting like poor people can wait. I call them the make them wait eight, who the other day said, no, it's always wait when it comes to poor people. It's always how much more do you need when it comes to corporations. And even a 3,000 child tax, that's $57 a week. But if you raise to 15, which is $7 below what a real living wage would be, just 15 is $600 a week.
That's right.
It's not, don't do the child tax credit, it's do that and.
That's exactly right.
And it was right at the door. It could have been done. It was easy to do. It was the make them wait 8, led by Manchin. If they had kept it in the bill, that Vice President Harris overruled the parliamentarian, it would have taken 60 votes to overrule her overrule, and they didn't have 60 votes. And none of them would have voted against the whole bill. And so that's why we can't be content, those of you on the media. We're just angry. This is stuff, this 15 is 57 years late 15 was proposed in 63 at the March on Washington. Then it was $2 an hour. And we didn't do it then. And for some people, you're talking about people not just moving from $7.25, but from $2.13, tip workers. So don't ask us to be content with less than what's possible. Don't ask us. So one Democrat said to me, well, you don't criticize us. We're doing the best you can. What? No, you're not. Some of you are, some of you aren't. But we can't, this is not about you being uptight about criticism. This is about people who are dying. This is about, this woman just said they can't even afford menstrual supplies. This is about Julia saying, listen, do you all know employers can actually pay me less because I'm disabled? That's why we must have an eternal discontent. You know, and so I'll stop there because it bothers me. People always telling up millionaires living in mansions, telling other people to just wait in the midst of poverty. Stop it, America, stop it. And our campaign is committed to saying that. Thank you so much, Attorney Charlie Gupta Barnes, our National Public Policy Director. Liz, you can take it from here because I don't want to say the wrong word, but I'm just kind of messed up right here.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, we're going to have a word now from Senator Schumer's state, our Senate Majority Leader's state. I want to introduce and welcome Becca Forsythe, one of our tri-chairs of the Poor People's Campaign in New York, who is experiencing poverty and is going to talk to us about how it doesn't have to be this way. So welcome, Becca.
Thank you so much, Reverend Liz. I appreciate it. My name is Becca Forsythe, and I am one of the tri-chairs of the New York State campaign. I stand with the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, because I am one of the 140 million Americans who are poor, or one paycheck, one emergency, one healthcare crisis from being poor. In my case, we didn't know that we were one mosquito bite away from poverty. 10 years ago, my husband was stung by a mosquito at a local swimming hole here in Chemung County in upstate New York. It caused viral encephalitis. That mosquito transmitted a virus that disabled my husband. He was our breadwinner. I was already disabled. Suddenly, we found ourselves in poverty. We have destroyed the environment in my community so effectively that this invader thrived where we couldn't. You see, where I live, just like a lot of places in the country, poverty is the norm. We lead the state in all the wrong things: high school dropout rates, teen pregnancy, child poverty rates, child death rates. We are one of the leaders in unemployment and violent crime in the state. We lead in lead in our toxic houses. We lead in obesity and its consequences. The leading causes of death in our county are cancer and heart disease. Our neighbors are suffering from being rent burdened and living in food deserts. The interlocking injustices of systemic racism, poverty, militarism, and ecological devastation thrive and suck us dry just like that mosquito did. To be perfectly honest, we're tired of bleeding. We live in a state that's considered progressive, where Democrats hold a supermajority, and we're still having to beg for the crumbs that fall from the table. Today, on International Women's Day, we demand an end to the attention violence that has for far too long forced the women and children of my community to suffer this burden of inequality. We need living wages. $15 minimum wage isn't enough, but we still have to beg for that. We need universal health care. Why do we have to beg for this during a pandemic in one of the richest states in the richest country in the history of the world? We need real and just COVID relief. We need safe, quality, and equitable housing. We need a functional public education system that prepares our kids to be more than just slaves to this unfair economic system. We need those who represent us to prioritize right over wrong and people over profits. We need them to take their knees off our necks and let us breathe. Please call your legislators today. bit.ly at PPC Call Congress. We gotta tell them somebody's been hurting our people for far too long, and we will not be silent anymore. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Becca, both for all the work you're doing and for the powerful words and witness that your life and everybody in your community's lives give to us. I want us to now move to Alabama, from New York to Alabama, right? We're doing fusion here. We're having people from all across this country that are leading the fight. And I was brought into the fight by welfare rights leaders. And I'm inspired by a quote from Johnny Tillman, one of those leaders, when she was talking about this question of essential work. Right, we're talking about essential work in this moment, and she said, wages are the measure of dignity that society puts on a job. Wages. There's no dignity in starvation. The problem is that our country's economic policies deny the dignity and the satisfaction to millions of people who suffer every day in underpaid, dirty jobs and still don't have enough to survive. So I want us to hear now from a powerful leader out of Alabama with the struggle of unionization of Amazon workers in Bessemer. And so I bring to you Linda Burns from Alabama. Thank you for the work you're doing and the struggle you're leading there.
Hello, my name is Linda Burns, and I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and I work in the Bessemer Amazon. And I was wanted to talk a little bit about, like you said, we get paid $15. They took our $2 hazardous pay, and we are still considered hazardous because we still, dealing with all kinds of stuff, and a lot of other stuff going on, like when we try to go to the bathroom, we get like two breaks out of a 10-hour shift. Now, us women, men, everybody got to go to the bathroom. So at one point in time, it'll take you like a minute or two, probably 5 minutes to get to the bathroom. Then you got to use it. Then it's going to take you another 5 minutes to get back. And they got a thing called time on task. And what that is, if you be gone too long from your machine, it's going to count against you. You can get fired just for pretty much going to the bathroom. So we have a light that we cut on. If nobody don't come, guess what? We're going to have to stay there. But if you got to go, you got to go. But at the same time, you're like, well, I need my job, so you don't want to. But at the same time, I said, oh, well, Lord, I said, I know I need my job, but I just got to go. I'm sorry. So I've been there a year. They've been open a year. I've been there a year. I don't had a lot of trouble about moving up to different jobs, but they got a little favoritism thing going on, and it's almost like as in, okay, I'm in school. They supposed to pay for school. They got a lot of stuff that they're like hiding from some of the employees. Some of the employees can get it. Some of the employees can't get it. So I go to school. They supposed to help me pay for it. No. They're not. Okay, I had caught COVID down there. They paid me for 2 weeks. I was off an additional week, and they did not pay me for that additional week. So I'm still struggling. That was the last check I got was November 13th. I didn't receive another check until December the 25th. December 24th, the day before Christmas. So everything got behind. And when I got the check, it was my work check. Actually, I went back to work December the 6th. Mind you, I went back for 2 weeks and they didn't pay me until December the 25th. Thank God for my neighbor. With that being said, I had to get another job to make ends meet because after I got through paying house rent, car note, insurance, everything, all that stuff, I didn't have enough to buy food. My neighbor bought me food. I was on the edge of getting kicked out because Amazon would not pay me. Now I'm fighting them. I injured my arm, and I'm fighting with them now because they don't want to pay me. And I injured my arm there. I got tendonitis and all that stuff. It's a shame. And then the struggle, I'm still like catching up. Even though I got another job, I'm still catching up because I was like 3-4 months behind in rent, 3-4 months behind in car note, 3-4 months behind in my light and all that stuff. Thank God they wasn't cutting power bills and stuff off because I'd have been sleeping in the car. I had to hide my car. Thank God he was like, well, we understand. They work with me. So it's just been a big struggle. And then you have to go there and put up with all that stuff, and then they don't want to pay you. They don't even want to give you the $2 back. They're supposed to give us the $2 back. They cut it out in May. I was going in every day working overtime. They let us work 2 extra days, and I was working 2 extra days every day until they stopped at $2. So I'm like, okay. I had a life. I go to school, and then I'm still working my other job, and then I still got Amazon. I'm just on leave at Amazon right now because of my arm. So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, we heard all of those specific issues, right? The fact that people are being denied being able to go to the bathroom,
yes.
working for Amazon Corporation, right? We heard that you have to, you're close to homelessness. You're not able to pay your bills.
Right.
For a company that in this pandemic has gotten billions and billions
of dollars, and they said they had resources to help for like struggling people like that. But guess what? When I reached out, they gave me the numbers, and when I reached out to them, they said they was only for the drivers. I'm like, the drivers are part-time, all of them. I'm full-time. So they denied me help on that.
That's right. And that's right. And that's what is so powerful about the unionization campaign that you're a part of, that the workers in Bessemer, Alabama, in the South, leading the nation, organizing against this Goliath. But there's some powerful Davids. Some of them are named Linda, like we have here today. And we thank you for the work you're doing. You're an inspiration. And we know from your story and from everybody's stories that we have to move forward together and not one step back. I'm going to move us now to Michigan. I want us to hear from Maureen Taylor, the president of the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization and a fighter for justice, just like those folk in Alabama are. So Maureen, thank you for being here with us today.
And thank you so very much for the invitation. I'd like to wish everyone a happy International Women's Month to us all. Many years ago, my parents took the family on a trip where I saw the effects of poverty on little children of all complexions. As far as I can tell today, not very much has changed. I'm not sure that it's possible to convey the terror, the absolute fear, the all-consuming devastation of lives overwhelmed with thoughts of how to survive another day. The government has not demonstrated concern or compassion for the lives of low-income families, yet America proudly declares herself to be the land of opportunity. Now, I work with welfare rights, and my sisters and brothers, I have seen rivers, poor women, and our children stand on the shores of poverty, searching for ways to get to the other side. Marginalized women carry many burdens, starting with the weight of being blamed for her own poverty. She chose the wrong nationality, the wrong partner, the wrong education. She chose to live in the wrong community. Her poverty is strictly her fault. Poverty demands courage, as poor people must make strategic plans to cross over to a better life. These treacherous waters are full of floating political debris. The lack of affordable housing, the lack of accessible childcare, the lack of affordable education, no transportation, skyrocketing auto insurance. These are just some of the barriers that disenfranchised low-income women have to navigate daily, trying to get their families safely to the other side. The cost of living is going up. The chances of living are going down. In Detroit, low-income families suffered the indignity of mass residential water shutoffs, affecting hundreds of thousands of families who were just 2 months behind or $150 overdue in back water payments. How can I make you understand what it means to be poor in America? How? Some 43% of Michigan households live at or below the poverty level, and that was before the pandemic. Michigan has a governor who has organized a poverty task force charged with securing ways to reduce poverty. But we need a national approach since women are carrying the weight of being separated from work because of the virus. Now, government officials refuse to increase the federal minimum wage. Senate members earn $483 a freaking day, while a Michigan welfare mom with 2 children, household of 3, earns approximately $483 in a month. In the end, the souls of poor women and their children can be seen floating down this river because the weight they had to carry was just too much. Now, they're not dead. We're not dead. They keep trying, determined to make a way out of no way. And if we listen intently and very carefully, we can hear their anguished, outraged voices when they ask that question, ain't I a woman? My name is Maureen Taylor. I serve as state chairperson of the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Maureen, for those words, for that charge, for that call. I want to remind folks that we are taking action online today. And so please follow that bit.ly link or go to the Poor People's Campaign website. Call our Congress people today. Let's put pressure and thank Representative Pelosi for including the 15, for including higher unemployment insurance, for including some powerful policies that can help lift the load of poverty. But we need her to keep up the pressure. We need all of Congress to keep up the pressure that this is not enough. And that we can and we must do more. We also want to call the minority leader and say that stop denying people wages on International Women's Day, the day after Bloody Sunday. Stop the violence, stop hurting people, and we can raise our voices. So now we want to hear some from some powerful leaders with Unite Here. I want to introduce Marlene Patrick Cooper, the president of Unite Here Local 23. And after her will be Rihanna Ford from Unite Here Local 355, a tip service worker at the Fort Lauderdale Airport. Marlene and Rihanna, welcome. We're so glad to have you here.
Yes, and we're so proud to be here. Thank you so much, Reverend Liz, for this opportunity from women speaking as women with the issues that face us from way back when. And I thank Sister Maureen for that passionate word that she just put out. My name is Marlene Patrick, predominantly based in the South. The members that we represent, and concession works. And during the peak, it's 98% layoffs. Still right now, 75% of our members are on layoff. We're majority women in this union and majority women of color. But despite facing job loss, we fought back. Organizing in the South is not only necessary, but it's very doable. Our international president have often told us if we do not organize the South will take over the North. And we do know that working people have shared their stories on how our growth together has allowed us to lift ourselves out of poverty. But speaking today on the $15 minimum wage subject, look, for so long, there's not been a minimum wage in America where families can not only survive on, but thrive. It's been way too long. It's inhumane to see how many years it's been since we've had a federal minimum wage increase for our workers. Companies, off the backs of our members, have continued to profit, and the workers are not reaping any of these benefits. We need to eliminate the sub-minimum wage and pass this $15 per hour for all workers so they can feed their families and move forward. But first, look, we cannot calm down. We cannot accept partially, and we will not be content. No one ever compromised what the corporations say they needed when not what is not in the bill. The bill does not deal is that we know how to say what part of it is good, we know how to say what part of it is bad, and we know how to say what part of it is nice. But at the end of the day, the bill did not go far enough. Now, on the political front, our folks, our members fought back. During the presidential election, we had over 1,700 of these laid off hospitality workers knocking on doors of 3 million voters in 4 battleground states. And that made a critical difference in the results. Then Unite here along, joining Stacey Abrams and other in Georgia to take back the Senate. We knocked on over 1.5 million doors to win back our future because our lives depended on it. Our folks sacrificed time away from home during this time with their families, canvassing, knocking on doors to get out the vote because their lives depended on it again. Now it's time for us to continue to hold this administration accountable and to push them to pass transformative legislation for working people. People are dying, and you expect us to dance and be happy. We cannot. Today, on International Women's Day, our message to you is we will not stop and we are not going away. Now I'd like to introduce to you one of our members out of Local 355 in Miami, Rihanna. She is very strong. She was a canvasser in the general election and in the Senate and made a critical difference in Georgia. Rihanna Ford is a tipped worker from South Florida. Rihanna.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rihanna Ford. I'm with Local Unite here, 355, and I'm a tip worker at Fort Lauderdale Airport. I make $5 an hour. And it's just me, and it's me and my fiance, who also makes $5 an hour. We work at the same place, and my 90-year-old father. God bless, he turns 91 this year. So at $5 an hour, I can't really do anything. And I can't take a second job because, once again, I take care of my dad. I work in the morning, and then my fiance works at night. So we kind of do a double shift taking care of him. I can't take an extra job. At $5 an hour, if no one comes in, that is $35 a day. That is absolute pennies. And that's before taxes. That's garbage. When I went to Georgia to canvass, I broke my ankle. I left my home. I left my dad. I left my sister. I left my fiance. I left everyone here and risked my life to go to Georgia in a pandemic to make sure I could have a better future, a better everything. We could all have a better everything. And I'm coming back home and we still don't have 15? Why? Does no one think that we don't deserve it? That the job that I do is so nothing? The girls I used to work with, Aisha, Kim, Magdalena, Sheikah, Tiffany, they all have kids. I would give up my $5 an hour shift to them. I would take food out of my mouth to help feed them and their kids. I'm putting myself where the government should be. I broke my ankle in Atlanta, and I'll do it again for this $15 an hour. I refuse to take pennies while people live in mansions. I refuse. Never. And that's all I gotta say.
Rihanna, I want to say something that you just spurred up. I don't normally step in, but on this Moral Monday day, I want folk to hear what you and Maureen said. You all touched 3 million people. You went dead into Atlanta. You broke your ankle. You took a risk of your life. And the 2 senators from Georgia got elected because of 15. Let's be real about that.
Yes.
They did not, if they had run on just dealing with racism and healthcare, they would not have made it. They made it because the platform of the Democratic Party, the president, all of they ran on, we're going to living wage. And what is so atrocious about this, and I like what my dear president said, I love the way you said it, we can say what's good, we can say what's nice, and we can say what's bad. And you don't get to tell us that we can't say what's bad just because you don't like it or just because you're harder, because we earned the right to do this. You worked, you turned out people to vote. And what is so ugly about this moment and why we can't let it go, because we let it go, they'll do it again. See, my daddy used to say, if you get in a fight with a bullet, at least let them know you were there. They're probably going to be less likely to mess with you again. The fact of the matter is, you got a majority because of low-wage workers, poor and low-wage workers. And I'm not so much bothered by what the 49 Republicans did, because they ain't never seen a tax hike that they like. And we already knew what they were going to do because they stood with Trump. But when 8 Democratic senators, 7 white men, 1 white woman, cross over and block a vote, and including 15 in the union, which is a compromise in and of itself, and hide behind a parliamentarian and say that it's not the right time, and then for Manchin to say, but I'm ready to do 11 over 3 years. He said he will get to 11 over 3 years. We cannot accept that. They cannot take you and others risking your lives and benefit from that. And not one of them told you to stay home. Not one of them said, every bit of help they wanted, they could get, they took it. But then they want to make people like us and you compromise now. If you accept that, and I'm gonna talk real plain, because I think you have an obligation to talk plain to your friends, not just your enemies. You promised. You never said unless the parliamentarian said something. That's not what you said. And my grandmother used to say, don't let anybody pee in your face and tell you it's raining.
You're right. You are 100% right about that.
Yeah, we're not going to be, so they might as well get over this. We just going to be quiet. Like my president, I'm going to call Maureen my president. She said, I'm going to tell everybody, write this down, Liz. This was our new mantra. We can say what's good, we can say what's nice, and we can say what's bad. And we got the authority to do all three, and you're not going to mute our voice in the name of we ought to just go along to get along. We're tired of it, and folk are tired of it. And I'm so glad that you put that in the room, Rihanna and Marlene. Love Unite Here. Sorry about that, Liz. I just had some of my peoples. I've been with Unite Here a long time. A little honorary member of Unite Here, so I had to jump in there. My president got to speaking. I'm gonna hush now. Bye.
No, Reverend Barbara, will you introduce the video next?
Oh yeah, we got a video of just women, the powerful voices of women, the Deborahs, if I was in the Bible, I would say the Deborahs, the Marys, the Ruths, the Esthers, the Aquilas, the Priscillas, just women speaking out. And the reason as a man, some of us are on today, because when you do fusion politics, you don't go set, in our organization, we don't set up like there's not a group over here and a group over there, group over there. We need men who are strong on women issues, women who are strong on men issues, black folk who are strong on Latino issues, Latinos who are strong on white poverty. We need a fusion. And so this video is really not a tribute, it's a trumpet. It's a trumpet of women. Play the video.
Powerful testifier. I want to introduce Sophia to come to us from Iowa, where we have marched in the snow and the sleet before. Sophia from Common Defense, and thank you so much for adding your voice, a really important voice today.
As a
Thanks so much for having me. So before I begin, I just want to say I've been spending the day kind of meditating on Sojourner Truth and the statement, "Ain't I a woman?" And I know that for some of the people who end up seeing this, and maybe some of the people who are on the call now, that may be a controversial question, but I decided I wanted to come here on International Women's Day to share my story. So my wife left without a word, only tears, and I knew she was leaving the moment I saw her. What I felt, but I couldn't have known at the time, is how much that one moment would change everything about my life. I'm Sophia Helena Mastertree. I'm a 10-year veteran of the U.S. Navy and U.S. Coast Guard. I'm a transgender woman, and I've struggled with poverty for most of my adult life. I came out shortly after my wife left because I thought I didn't have anything else to lose. I had lost a house, a car, my cat, my clearance at my job, half of my paycheck, and a burgeoning comfort with who I am as a person. But there was more to lose. Eventually, the military found its way into my closet and discharged me for being trans. And I've not had full-time permanent employment since I left the military. Being trans in America, and I'll add a lot of surprising places elsewhere, means bearing the brunt of overt, shameless discrimination. In university, I had to create my own consultancy to get an internship as a requirement to complete my program, something that was so trivial. Most of my classmates had 3 or 4. I've had hiring managers, plural, tell me they just don't want to hire a trans person. Housing insecurity, food insecurity, poor food quality, the looming specter of subsistence sex work, and the legal discrimination that follows to keep a roof overhead like so many trans women have done before me. I'm fortunate that my disability provides me enough to make something like a life for myself. In the richest country in the history of mankind, I thank God that the military broke me irreparably. And I'm not alone. People of color, LGBTQ people, immigrants, indigenous people, mothers, other poor and low wealth people are also routinely discriminated against, which perpetuates the cycle of poverty, an injustice that interlocks with racism, classism, sexism, ageism, and ableism, despite the laws ostensibly preventing it. And you're telling me that $15 an hour maybe someday is going to fix it? This cannot be how we treat people. We demand $15 an hour now, not in we demand equality in employment now, not just on paper, but in practice. And that's what I came here to say today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sophia. A powerful testimony. It's so good to be here with you on International Women's Day. We want to watch that video now, and then we'll hear from more stories.
Nobody made the sisters come. Nobody.
We shall not be moved.
We are assembled here in front of the U.S. Capitol today to express our deepest concern over the state of our impoverished democracy.
This is Moral Monday, and it's dedicated to women raising their voices and putting their bodies in action.
Because we know poor people are not to blame. We know that people aren't poor because they want to be poor. People aren't poor because they don't work hard enough. For God's sake, the poor people are the ones that work the hardest.
That's right. It's true. Right.
Women have always been a strong part of the backbone of the social justice movement. Women throughout the generations have fought for the rights of all people. We've organized in our communities. We've been vigilant in our prayers. We've marched. We've spoken out. We've gone to jail. We have risked our very lives for the rights of all people.
And we are here. We are poor. We are clergy. And we're here to say to our nation's capital and to the highest court in this land that everybody has a right to live. Everybody has a right to learn. Everybody has a right to love. Everybody has a right to living wages. Everybody has a right to vote. Everybody has a right to thrive in this society.
It's okay to be angry, but you take that anger and you convert that energy into a fight for justice.
We are not going away. We are not stopping protesting. We are not stopping fighting. And we will come back again and again and again.
Because we are the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. And we are here at this Capitol to deliver our demands that come out of the cries of the people, out of the organizing of the people, in solidarity with people all over the world, in a nonviolent, intergenerational, multiracial, interreligious army of the poor. Yes. And we have been hurt for too long. Somebody has been hurting our people for far too long. And we can't be silent anymore.
We fight against injustice. We shall not be moved. We fight against injustice. We shall not be moved like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved.
To not be moved and to keep on making these calls, putting pressure on our elected officials to do more, to keep on fighting for poor and low wealth people, and on this International Women's Day, poor and wealth women in particular. I want to introduce Latia Frazier from the Kansas Poor People's Campaign, who has some words to share with us today. Welcome, Latia.
Thank you. As a person with a disability, we'll start up here. I am an African-American disabled woman who finds it very difficult to celebrate International Women's Day. I cannot celebrate when 74 million women are poor and low income. I cannot celebrate when tax credits that were just passed only cover 50% of her children. That is barbaric and immoral. And the choice that this nation is making women make is not a choice at all. As a person with a disability, I am keenly aware of the personal care attendants, many of whom are women, that assist people with disabilities with activities of daily living and make it possible for people with disabilities to live active lives in their communities. These essential workers do not have access to health care and earn substantially less than $15 an hour. In Kansas, a living wage would be $24.47 an hour, and the minimum wage right now is about $7.25 an hour. I cannot celebrate International Women's Day not when the U.S. continues to choose funding corporations in the trillions of dollars, yet people with disabilities are stuck in poverty because we must choose between getting assistance to bathe or going to work. I cannot celebrate when I'm kept in poverty because of policies that limit my earning potential. As a disabled African-American woman, I am disproportionately affected by poverty and inadequate health care. I refuse to celebrate International Women's Day in a country whose policies make it clear that it would rather that I be dead than enact policies that celebrate my womanhood. Today is not a day to celebrate for me because death that can be prevented is not to be celebrated. I will not celebrate being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Today is a day that I call upon my elected officials to pass a just and fair relief bill that includes raising the minimum wage for all to $15 an hour. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Latia. You have me ready to celebrate International Women's Day when we win, but instead mourning it today. And it's in that spirit that I want to bring someone that we have celebrated and mourned a lot with, a powerful leader in this struggle for all people across this country and world. I bring to you Mary Kay Henry, the president of SEIU, who have some words to share with us and can introduce Elaine Gore, the SEI worker that's here with us as well. Thank you for being with us, Mary Kay.
Thank you, my sister, Reverend Liz Theo Harris, and thanks to my sister Latia for making it crystal clear. We are joining together in struggle today, and I think I join you in saying it's not a time for celebration, but I wonder if you agree with me that it is a time to honor the shoulders that we stand on of women who have dared to not be silent anymore and to use the fullness of our power on behalf of the 74 million poor and low wealth women that all of us in this Moral Monday gathering are committed to making sure are not going to be consigned to poor and low wealth forever. We're going to use our power to recognize the richness and brilliance of each and every one of those women, the perseverance in the struggle for justice that's going to mean that we will win a $15 minimum wage and we will win every fight for justice that's part of this incredible fusion movement. So thank you so much for allowing me and the 2 million members of SEIU and the millions more fighting for 15 in a union to join with the powerful leaders today in honoring women's history and struggle. I'm proud to introduce a Fight for 15 and a union leader, Elaine Gore, who is demanding that care work be seen and invested in and recognized in this country. Of those 74 million poor and low wealth women, 5 million are caregivers doing either childcare or care for elders or people with disability in their home. Elaine has been on the front lines of that fight, and we join with all of you on this gathering to say we want a $15 minimum wage. We agree that the Senate didn't do its job, and we need to call on those 8 senators to get right with the people in their states and to pass that bill. And we are proud to link arms with you in the demand for every essential worker, respect us, protect us, and pay us. And I want to turn it to Elaine Gore, who's been on the front lines of helping caregivers be seen. That's why everybody in, nobody left out, that the Poor People's Campaign talks about is so critical for caregiving. Because back in the 30s, when Social Security was passed and the Fair Labor Standards Act was passed and National Labor Relations Act was passed, these women's jobs were excluded. They were done by Black and brown women, and that legislators didn't want those women to have the power to join together and form a union and fight for the justice on every front. But Elaine Gore is one of thousands that are joining together with the rest of you on this Zoom to make a change in that. Elaine? Please join us, Elaine.
Hello, my name is Elaine Gore. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been a home care worker for over 20 years. I've worked taking care of some seniors and people with disabilities in various states.
Push your camera just a little bit, Elaine.
Oh.
We want to see. So
Okay.
push it up so we can see you real good.
Okay, what's going on with my camera?
Just take your hand on the top of it and push it back so the camera will tilt up some.
Maybe if you just back up, it'll be good.
Oh, there you are. Almost. There you are. Yeah.
Okay. I was saying, I find it very rewarding, my work. But even though I provide essential care to community members and loved ones, I have not been treated as an essential worker. I work without benefits like health insurance, paid time off, or even bereavement time. We have to choose between taking care of ourselves or having enough money to eat, basically. I've been working for 20 years and I still make less than $15 an hour. The most I've ever seen in raises has been between 5 to 7 cents on occasions. So when the pandemic started and work opportunities began slowing down, I lost the very little I was earning. My daughter and I lost housing. My daughter, if it wasn't for the support of friends, I would have no place to live right now. I lost my car, and now I have less work available to me. My family cannot even afford health care at the marketplace, and my daughter depends on medicine for her asthma. My daughter and I are suffering right now. Earning a wage of at least $15 an hour right now will be life-changing for me and my family. As a woman who had to work 2 jobs all my life to take care of my family, $15 an hour would have meant I would have more time to spend with my daughter. It also means I would have been better able to take care of myself. That goes for all the women with or without families that make the backbone of the backbone of home care industry. I know some of our elected leaders don't want to hear us on that, but that isn't going to stop me from making my voice heard. And I'm not only fighting for $15 an hour, I'm also making my voice heard on the Biden Caregivers Workforce Plan, a plan that will help home care workers win basic benefits like health care and paid time off, as well as any opportunity to join a union no matter what state we live in. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much. It's so powerful to hear about that commitment and the story that you have brought to us. We have 4 more powerful women speakers. I want to bring up next Nell Mahan from California, one of our chairs of the work out there, who is an unpaid caregiver and needs is a part of this struggle for living wages, for expanding healthcare, and for support and love and guaranteed adequate income for all. So Nell, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Reverend Liz. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to raise my voice. My name is Nell Mahan, and I have been a low-wage worker as well as an unpaid caregiver. I'm a 64-year-old Black lesbian whose income is less than 150% of the federal poverty level. I live in constant fear of losing my housing. My only source of income is Social Security disability. Our family home was foreclosed on by Chase Bank after my mom died. They chose to foreclose rather than to modify the loan. I then spent 2 years in housing instability, which was stressful for both my physical and mental health. I had to move 12 times in that 2-year period. So I'm here fighting back with the Poor People's Campaign, which is called for the right to welfare, for a care income, and for a minimum wage of at least $15 an hour. These demands are interrelated. Women like me are exhausted. We are unpaid caregivers for children, elders, and family members living with disabilities, and we are low-wage workers. 58% of those who make less than $15 an hour are women, and the vast majority of those women are women of color. With welfare reform, those of us on welfare are being used to undercut the wages of other workers and to compete with them. We're forced to take any job just to get a welfare check, and we refuse to be used against one another that way. So we're coming together to build a fusion movement so that all the work we do, work that reproduces and sustains life and all of society, will not only be paid, but be paid a living wage. We need a base of at least $15 an hour. So on this International Women's Day, I'm showing up as part of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, to say that it's past time for women, all of us, Black, Latinx, Asian, white, Native American, moms, childless, trans, living with disability, immigrant, with or without papers. Indeed, for all of us to have policies in place that end poverty and enable us to live decent, dignified lives rather than forcing us into jobs that destroy our health and the environment. And that's why we're calling on the House to put the $15 increase in the minimum wage back in the stimulus. We need full and just COVID relief, and that must include a $15 an hour minimum wage.
Thank you so much. Now, a powerful connecting of all of these issues, right? Indeed, we have all of these priorities. They all are connected, and we're organizing this 140 million poor and low-income people, the 74 million poor and low-income women. It's my honor next to yeah.
Question.
Of course.
Can you send me that way you lined that up, sister? If you get my email. I like the way you laid out the all women, and because I was thinking about as you were laying out that how that included my mama. Somebody told me they worked in poverty. I said I lived in it. My mother was a educated woman who worked in the South as a principal secretary for a public school and never made above poverty wages.
Right.
Now I want folk to understand that. Now. In the Black community, people that Black folk would say to you, they never called you poor. They always taught you to hold your head up, and they always taught you what we don't have in money, we have in love, and we have in that. But they were very clear, and so I know that. I know that reality of having parents who were whatever and started out whatever's called middle and class, went back to the South. But my mama, and I like the way you lined up. Even my mother, who just finished 52 years of work, never made over $20,000 a year.
Right.
She for 52 years.
That's not right. You can do better than that, Reverend Barber.
And she, somehow we made it through college and all that. But my point is that we've got to put this right face on this. And I like the way you said everybody, papers, no papers, all. Just send me that. I want that. We're gonna put that up on the website.
All right.
Thank you, my sister. Keep up the fight.
Thank you.
And so I want to introduce now the Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, Senior Pastor of Middle Collegiate Church in New York. We thank you for all the work you do standing with the Poor People's Campaign and for justice in this world. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Liz. Hi, everybody. How are you? It's good to see this beautiful assemblage of folks. Hey, Rob. What's up, Barbara? It's so good to see everybody here today. Thank you so much for this opportunity. First of all, I'm so thrilled and honored to just be with you, to be among you as leaders, leading from the places where you live and work and do the work of justice. It's such an important time for women, such an important time for women. As we think about the anniversary of Bloody Sunday, and think about all those women who sat in or marched in, all the women who've died in, all the women who've protested, organized, written letters, stood before principals and powers to demand justice, to ask for justice. And as a Christian clergy on the way to Easter in this season of Lent, I've been thinking a lot about the feminine divine. Just thinking about the wonderful story of Sarah and Abraham. And before they were Sarah and Abraham, they were Sarai and Abram. And how God, the same God who had introduced himself, I'm going to say, to Moses, as I am who I am, or I will cause what I will cause. I will do what I do. That same God is a God who made a promise to Abram. He would be a father of nations, to Sarah, that she would be a mother of nations, and reintroduced herself, come with me, to Sarah and to Abram, changed their names from Princess Sarai to Exalted Mother Sarah, changed his name from Abram, father, to Exalted Father Abraham, and introduced herself as El Shaddai. And almost every time we read the word El Shaddai in the Hebrew scriptures, we think it's God Almighty. You know, the words are God Almighty. But no kidding, my friends. Though El is a masculine article, the word Shaddai means breasts, plural, breasts. So here we have the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, of Sarah, Leah, and Rachel, introducing themselves as a feminine God, as feminine divine energy, that every time the word is used in Genesis, it's about fertility and the promise of new life. There's something about that that gives me joy today. I'm tired as you are tired. I'm working hard as you are working hard. I'm struggling as you are struggling to make sure that everybody has a right to live freely with liberty and justice for real, that they can put food on the table for their children, that they can work and feel dignity and be able to rest at night, that our children can live in this nation and not be afraid to walk around and be black and brown, that we end poverty as a pre-existing condition. I'm tired, as I know you're tired. And I'm rejuvenated by this feminine divine energy that I see around this Brady Bunch square as well. I see it in you, all of you. El Shaddai, this powerful God of love and nurture and waymaking and life-giving and resuscitation, the particular ways that women know how to lead, that we know how to care for each other's children, that we know how to hold each other's hands, how to pat each other's foreheads, how to encourage each other, and how to share resources when we have them. God, that you would give more leadership to women around the globe so that we can heal the globe of the things that patriarchy has wrought, that white supremacy has wrought. El Shaddai, my friends, introducing herself to us as power, as womb-like mercy, as love and gift, with which we can make a nation that we can be proud of, in which the poorest children are no longer poor, in which the women are no longer subjugated and asked to sit down someplace and be quiet, in which our leadership changes the culture of the nation and changes the culture of the world. I hope it's okay to say that I'm proud of you, that I see you, that I'm glad for you. Sunita, good to see you. I'm so glad to see you, being you in the world. And I hope you can feel in your own private life the sense of a loving, holy other sustaining you and equipping you and walking alongside you, however you name her, however you experience her, as holiness and as love and as light. May it be so.
Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis. We have two more speakers that I'm going to introduce right now, and then after they share their words, Reverend Barbara will close us out before a song. The next person is Sunita Vaswanath, the co-founder of Sadhana and Hindus for Human Rights. And we're so honored to have you here with us and in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. And following Sunita is Sarah Steffens, the Secretary Treasurer of the Communication Workers of America, a longtime leader in this struggle, part of the steering committee of the Poor People's Campaign. And so I welcome both Sunita and Sarah, and thank you for being with us today and every day.
Thank you, Reverend Liz, and all the courageous fighters who are here speaking truth. And Reverend Jackie, you just touched my heart, and thank you so much. I am always sad, angry, and determined on this day, on this International Women's Day, and today is no exception. And hearing all of these testimonies, I hope everyone who is listening is sad, angry, and more determined than ever. Poor People's Campaign is a national call for moral revival. And it's morally reprehensible that in the United States in 2021, while corporate executives and presidents of private universities make many millions of dollars each year, we are fighting for $15 an hour. I am so disheartened that even After we elected the Democrats back to power, now this are the side that's supposed to care for the poor and about equity. We're still fighting this fight like this. We come together as secular people and people of faith. And while this is a matter of common sense and basic concern for fellow humans, we can seek the wisdom of our scriptures. And the oldest Hindu scripture, the Rig Veda, states, one may amass wealth with hundreds of hands, but one should also distribute it with thousands of hands. What our ancient sages stated thousands of years ago is so relevant today, because every crisis we face on our planet has at its heart the immoral and unjust distribution of wealth and resources. We should be fighting for free healthcare for all, free public higher education for all, paid family leave. But here we are fighting for a minimum wage that isn't even livable. I am no economist, but I know that no one with dependents, hell, no one without dependents can survive at $15 an hour. In this year of COVID trauma, we have learned just who are the most essential workers in this land, and they include some of the people who have spoken today. I mean, they include doctors and nurses, but they also include janitors, sanitation workers, grocery store workers, childcare workers, home healthcare workers, and so many other low-wage workers. And in fact, over half of the people we call essential workers are low-wage workers. And sure, we all banged our pots and pans for them, but the only way we can respect them, respect their dignity, honor them, thank them for seeing us through this year from hell, is by passing the $15 minimum wage. Since this is International Women's Day, I will add that women, especially women of color, are overrepresented in minimum wage jobs. And there is still a gender wage gap of about 18 cents on the dollar. The stimulus bill has a lot in it that's good, and we applaud that. We like the expanded child tax credit. But how does it make sense to give a child tax credit and give the parents poverty wages? The stimulus bill, as it stands, is not the best we can do. As Nell was saying, we have to do better. And we demand that the $15 minimum wage be put back into it. The Biden administration must override the parliamentarian. And they would if this were a priority for them. And we must pass the $15 minimum wage for all workers now. Thank you all.
Wow, amazing, powerful words, especially about banging the pots and pans, which is a wonderful way to say thank you. But a much more long-lasting tribute to our essential workers is $15 minimum wage and a union. So I'm Sarah Steffens. I'm the Secretary Treasurer of Communications Workers of America. It seems especially appropriate to me to be here with all of you on International Women's Day. As many of you said, not necessarily a celebration, but definitely a moment that we need to observe. All of our members at CWA, all of our leadership, we are continuing our call for a fair and just $15 minimum wage. We're calling on the Senate to quickly approve the American Rescue Package so that working people will get critical relief. We need moves to empower women workers who've been disproportionately pushed out of the labor market during the pandemic. Women are fighting on the front lines to build the labor movement. So I know people have been calling Speaker Pelosi and Minority Leader McCarthy today. We're thanking Speaker Pelosi for fighting to keep the $15 an hour for all workers in the COVID relief bill. And we're encouraging her to keep on fighting. This is a critical fight. And we're demanding that McCarthy stop blocking progress and relief for the millions who are really hurting in our nation. I did want to say a few words about the amazing women leaders who are organizing their workplaces right now with CWA. Women are the majority of the workers at Maximus, which is the largest federal contractor of call center services. These are 10,000 workers serving Medicare and Affordable Care Act recipients, but they're paid as little as $10.80 an hour. And they face management harassment and intimidation when they speak up and fight to win their union. The women of Maximus are fighting for a new day where a profitable company like Maximus has to bargain with its workers, and the federal government actually backs them up. Women are also out in front in many of our other organizing campaigns, including at the giant eyewear chain Luxottica, where workers are fighting for a safe environment during COVID. The wireless industry, where women at Verizon Wireless stood up to racist managers and union busting. At a call center in Texas, we have workers at Alphabet and in the broader tech industry who are making racial justice and gender justice a core component to their organizing, and so many more. So on International Women's Day and on every day, let's lift up the 74 million poor and low-income women in this country who are on the front lines of essential work, low-wage work, unpaid work, women who are demanding $15 an hour in a union, and we need expanded unemployment insurance and just COVID relief for everybody. Thank you.
You're so right, my dear sister. You are so right, Madam President. And I'm so honored I work, and I'm looking forward to that work that Repairs is doing with those workers at Maximus. You know, I was just thinking in the movie on Gladiator, Maximus defended the women. He didn't destroy the women. You know, it's just, they even got the movie wrong. But we're going to help them get the script right, Liz. And we certainly celebrate the powerful work that Reverend Liz Theo Harris is doing. By the way, y'all, she's got a book coming out soon. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell it, but she's got a book coming out on how you read the Bible reading the Bible with the Poor People's Campaign. And you all ought to be ready to get that, because it'll help you in meditating through the course of the day, because we have to keep our fight up. I want to close the day before we go to Hold On. You know, this is a special day for me to be able to share with you all as a man. But naturally, I would say I have a mama who's a woman, but my family was strong women. You know, my great grandmama, you might want to know, refused to let my daddy pick cotton. She picked extra so he could go to school. And she bought land she never, you know, guess she could, saving a quarter here, a dime here, passed down to her family. And my grandmother worked every day on a farm, took care of her aunt, her sister that they wanted to take away. When she was approached in the 1930s to sell my daddy on the black market in the middle of the Depression. And it was happening up in the northern part of this country, the world country. And she refused. She was a single mother in the middle of the Great Depression. She never got above the 5th grade. She sold eggs and chickens and chopped tobacco and peanuts and taught me how to do the same thing. She had me read the Bible to her and braid her hair at night. But she always said to me, don't you ever surrender your dignity. And don't you ever allow people to tell you something is good and it ain't good. Don't you ever say yes when no it should be your answer. And she said, don't ever celebrate mediocrity in yourself or in the nation. She died at 81 years of age. And she was a powerful woman. My mother took on an entire system that tried to suggest she was a thief because somebody made a mistake of 50 cents in the books, in the financial books of the high school. And they wanted her to pay the 50 cents, admit that she was wrong, and they were going to put a letter in her record and say that she was incompetent in that area. This is what she faced integrating this new school, and she refused. She would go back. She went back for one solid week every night back when things were in ledgers, until she found where actually somebody had written a 5 where it should have been a 0. And she challenged them. and said, if you do that again, I'm going to own the school system. And when poor children like myself couldn't afford piano lessons, she paid for their books, but when the books would cost 50 cents, she let the parents pay a nickel so they'd have dignity. And then she would make the children's clothes. But she told me, she said, you better fight every day of your life. You better fight for what's right. And don't ever let people tell you something is all right if it ain't all right. Don't agree with your oppressor. I don't care who they are. Always stand on, and I thank my sister who said we are a Poor People's Campaign for a national moral revival, not a national political bills. We are moral revival, and we must demand the moral thing be done. And that's not going to always sit well with Democrats or Republicans, but it's the only way for things to get well. That somebody has to dare to dream what ought to be, declare what ought to be, and be determined. So I want to close, and we talk about holding on, Liz, and we've got these powerful women that are going to sing Hold On. But I want to close with Coretta Scott King, because somebody asked Coretta what she felt about violence one day after her husband had been murdered. And they thought Coretta was just going to talk about Martin's murder. But Coretta, as a woman, as she had pushed Martin to be more into the Vietnam issue, she says this. She says, yes, violence is my husband being murdered, but poverty can produce a most deadly kind of violence. In this society, violence against poor people and minority groups is routine. She said, let me remind you that starving a child is violence. Suppressing culture is violence. Neglecting school children is violence. Discrimination against working people is violence. Ghetto housing is violence. Ignoring medical needs is violence. Contempt for equality is violence. And even a lack of willpower to help humanity is a sick and sinister form of violence. Violence is not just an insurrection on January 6th. Violence is poverty wages. Violence is ghetto housing. Violence is blocking health care. And we would be violent if we accepted it and didn't continue to muster the power to challenge the injustices and to help humanity. And as for me, and I know it's for you, many of you on this, sisters, we're not going to join the violence. We're going to stand with nonviolence, which means we're going to stand with justice. We're going to stand with truth. We're going to stand with, and I want to thank all of you, from all the brothers and all of those of us who are the children of powerful women. And regardless of your sexuality, whether you're gay, lesbian, trans, thank you. Thank you. We celebrate your collective power. We hold hands together. They will not separate us. They will not separate us. And we're going to hold on until justice comes. Love you all.
justice.